stuff. Monday after men's breakfast. So I think my granddaughter gave it to me. She has it. Yeah, her doctor, for some reason, didn't want to see her. I don't know why. Right now, it's like, why not? Anyway, tonight we're studying the feasts and invitations. We're still heading to Jerusalem, kind of for the last showdown. I'm going to say it that way. Verse 1 says, Now it happened as he went into the house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath that they watched him closely. Now the first few verses of this chapter may be a compilation, because we've seen where he went in to dinner with some Pharisees in Matthew and Mark. And this kind of hits those stories. So we don't know if Luke just kind of compiled them into one as a teaching lesson, or if they could have all happened. I mean, I know they happened, but they could have all happened at this one setting. But anyway, the message is still the same. It really doesn't make any difference. He came in to eat with with the rulers. It says house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees. So he could have been one of the Sanhedrin, probably. And he probably had more of his people there with him watching, because he said they watched him. They were trying to trap him, okay? Trying to get something in that he said that could use it against him. So as they are doing this, they're looking for any entry or anything that he says, and Jesus, he sees that. He knows it to begin with. And some things, some people, they're just oblivious to, they can't read human physiology. They can't read signs and stuff like that. And that's not seeing anything. It's just you walk somebody in, if they're happy, you kind of know, if they're drudging around, dropping around, short, you kind of know that they're probably not feeling well or something. So I'm sure Jesus could see that as a natural man, but also as a God man. He knew what they were up to. And we see that as he asks them questions. Brother Epperson?
It says, Behold, there was a certain man before him that dropsy. And Jesus answered, spoke to the lawyers and the Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? But they kept silent. And he took him and healed him and let him go.
Okay. Most likely, they said that this was a plant, a trap, to see if he would heal. Now, Moses' law did not prohibit healing on the Sabbath. The rabbinical teachings said you could heal on the Sabbath if someone's life was in danger. But if not, you got to wait till Monday. That's like wait until later, because you're upsetting our apple cart, so to say. But he just asked him a question before he healed him. He said, is it okay to heal on the Sabbath? Is it lawful? And the question was, yes, it's healed, but they didn't answer him. So not answering him kind of led him to believe, and I'm sure that this guy was a plant. Now, he could have been a Pharisee. He could have been one of them. Dropsy, the way they talk about it, is a swelling, fluid on the body, particularly the face. Could be anywhere else on the body. So it's a retention of fluids. And it probably was not critical as far as, he probably wouldn't die that day. We don't know. But that's what it was. And swelling doesn't go down, right away. But this did. Jesus healed him, and they saw it. They noticed it. It was night and day difference. And that's what they just like, oh, we got him now. He healed on the Sabbath. And that's what he was, but he kind of precluded before he told him, is it lawful? And they didn't answer him. He's asked them several questions they couldn't answer or wouldn't answer.
You know, what gets me is he tried to include you.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the temple. I mean, he did not ignore them.
No.
I mean, I like that word said there, but to love them and show them a godly example.
Mm-hmm.
And to respect him as much as he could.
That's right.
But everything that he did, they stood against.
It's just one of those things that it's like, I don't know, it's our way or the highway. You know, you go by these laws or not. And I sure would not like to have them as the traffic cops, you know, that's around here, because you do 1 mile an hour over and you're going to be stopped. They took everything verbatim, and it wasn't just the law. It was the 10 Commandment law. It was the other 660 precepts or whatever they had. And as we've said before, they thought that those were more important than the law. So here in the next one on page 3, he answers them another question. Okay, Iris, you want to read that on the middle of page 3?
Then he answered them, saying, which of you, having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit, will not immediately pull it out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him regarding these things.
Okay. Now, one of the commentaries I read on this says the word that they use, that they translated for donkey or ox, one or the other, was very close to son. So you could say, which of you having a son or an ox that's fallen into a pit will not immediately pull him out? Well, your son, you're sure for going to pull him out. They said sometimes they would leave an animal in a pit all day until they could pull him out the next day, because they didn't want to break the Sabbath. Now, you could go and put some logs in there, timbers in there, and let them try to climb out. To me, that's still work. So what's the difference? But they didn't see it that way. And here again, they did not answer him. They were just looking for something to claim upon him. Now, this is just reasoning. If somebody you love as your family or an animal that you know, you're going to check them out because they may have broke their leg or whatever. And if they broke their leg, you're not going to let them suffer all day. You're going to get them out or shoot them or something. They're already in a hole. You can just bury them. So anyway, they were just looking for something to go into. Let's see, I think I skipped one here. I shouldn't. Yeah, at the bottom of 3, Tammy.
You know, I do find it interesting.
Uh-huh.
They want to live by the law. They didn't know anything else but.
No, they didn't.
Jesus brought the law.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't see it.
Right.
So he told a parable to those who were invited. When he noted how they chose the best places, said,
Okay. Now, Jesus was an invited guest in this particular place. How many places was Jesus invited to dinners that we know of? Can you think of any?
well, Lazarus was one.
Lazarus was one. Matthew's house. He had him, the tax collectors, and people were there. So he went to what people would say, the good people, Pharisees, and the bad people, the tax collectors. He accepted both. He didn't turn them down. He looked at it at some place in some way to try to encourage them, as Brother Everson was saying, trying to show them, trying to help them understand. But their minds were just so focused on what they knew to be right and wrong in their minds, they couldn't see beyond that. So they went ahead and he looked as he came into this dinner, and typically, I think It's not like you see the Da Vinci Last Supper where this long table, you know, they say it's more of a U-shaped table. Okay? And usually the one throwing the party, the head, is in the middle of the head table, the front. And the predominant, his next best friend is usually on one side, and then his second best friend's on the other side. Then third, it just goes back and forth all the way. So as they come in from this, they come in and start sitting down in the places. And what happens? It would be nice if this happened in church, wouldn't it? Everybody come in and would sit on the front row. But what happens is everybody sits on the back row and the visitors have to come up front. But so he just saw this, what was happening, what was going on. And I don't know if he was the last one to come in. Maybe. It didn't say. He was invited, so you would have thought he'd play. But I can see this in my mind. I don't think it's indicated anywhere. He's in the very lowest place. That's what I would see from this. That's telling him from them, okay, we're inviting you to a party, but we don't really think much of you. That's the way I see it. It doesn't say that, but that's kind of the way the word indicates. He watched them as they come in and sat down. So it says, when you are invited, 8 and 9 says, when you are invited by anyone, this is Jesus talking, to a wedding feast, do not sit down in the best place, lest one more honorable than you be invited by him. And he who invited you and him come and say to you, give place to this man, and then you begin with shame to take the lowest place. I'm sorry. So he's telling them now, you need to come in and you find you a place and find it somewhere. In their minds, it would be low. One, showing humility, and two, showing that if the person that invited you sees you and they say, hey, no, you're sitting way back here, come here, I want to talk to you. Today we have some like this, but we're a little different. Whenever we go to dinners and, anytime we come together, we usually sit down, and I can see it in ours. We have little cliques, people we know, we sit down. But after 5 or 10 minutes, or after we eat, hey, I see somebody over there, so I get up and go walk over there and talk to them and sit down with them and have dessert or something and go over here and do this. Now, I'm opposite. I'm lazy. I stay where I'm at and let people come to me. If they want to talk to me, they come to me. But no, not really. I've gone to other people too. But typically, people are moving around, shoving around, and going back and forth. So that's what he's telling them, to don't seek the highest position. We also see this in the synagogue. The synagogue had high seats, one on the right, one on the left, real close to where the teacher is teaching. And then there's lesser seats, and then those in the back, pews. The ones that came in first, or the ones that came in and thought they were haughty-taughty, they'd come sit up. Because Jesus told them about that in another of the lessons that he taught us. Don't seek the high seats. And that's what it's saying here. Take the low seats, and then as somebody else comes in, if the guy comes in and sees you and say, hey, the party thrower, come up here and talk to me. Sit up here by me. I want to visit with you. That's what he's telling them. That way he won't be subjected to, hey, that's my friend over there. I haven't seen him in 100 years. Hey, get out of his seat. I want him to come sit with me. And then this guy has to go sit in his seat, which is way at the back. And that's what Jesus is telling them. They're trying to tell them and get across to them. This whole thing is, the Pharisees wanted to be seen. Just walking down the street, if people didn't pay obeisance to them, get out of the way and all that, they were the God's people. We need to be careful today about that ourselves, because we're no better than the Pharisee in that sense, that we're no better than anybody else. We're all sinners, and hopefully we have, repented and come back and understand that. Some people aren't. Some people are normally, this is just the way people react, and it'd be their psychological or whatever. They're people. They like to mix and mingle. Some people, like me, are more solitary. I'm fine with sitting by myself. I like to visit with them, but then I go off, and if nobody comes and visits me, I'm not put out. If nobody doesn't shake my hand, I'm not put out. It doesn't bother me. Some people it does. Oh, he didn't shake my hand. He don't like me. So, but that's what Christ was trying to tell them. Don't seek these high spots, okay? Brother Epson, on the next page 5.
But when you're invited, go sit down in the lowest place, so that when he who invited you comes to say to you, friend, go up higher, then you will have glory in the presence of those who sit at the table with you. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted.
So Jesus wasn't merely teaching good manners, but a lifestyle of lowliness of mind esteems others better than themselves. And that's what Paul said in Philippians 2.
I was thinking, even politics and Washington, D.C. and everything,
Mm-hmm.
when people get into leadership, it turns into power.
Yeah.
They don't want what's right, they want power. And that's what the Pharisees wanted.
Right.
When Jesus did something right, look at what's going on today. It's all about power.
Right. And that's where nobody's there to serve the public. They say they are, but they don't. They want to get involved and get my contacts created, because all they have to be in politics is just a couple of years, and then they go out and use those contacts and make money. Is what they see. Okay, at the bottom of page 6, Iris.
Then he also said to him who invited him, when you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back, and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just.
Okay. Now, we go back and reread in, who was it? Ahasuerus, I think is in Babylon, when he was throwing a party and he saw the handwriting on the wall. He threw a party, and one, it may be in here, let me look and see real quick. It was like 140 days. Almost a year, half a year party.
A party?
A party.
I have missed the party.
It's not, it was in another commentary that I was reading that said that they wanted to flaunt their wealth. Can't say it right, flaunt with my throat. Yeah, they want to show that they're rich, that they can take care of people and do all these things. We see that a lot again in politics. They go around and they mingle, and usually it's with rich people so they can get funds to go do something else, trying to win so that's what he said. Don't worry about who. If you have a party with somebody they're going to, they'll say, okay, next time I got to invite them to a party because they were at my house. Here he's saying, who are the people that never get invited to a party? The poor, the widows, the orphans, those that are maimed. Nobody wants to be around them. And that's what he's saying. Do good to them. Help them out. You're still going to eat no matter who it is, okay? So you're feeding yourself, but if you're going to feed somebody, feed them. And we do that today. We see, I was really appalled. I don't know if the statistics, I didn't see it, but it said Oklahoma was one of the poorest, at the bottom of the list for food for children. And I almost couldn't hardly believe that. I mean, maybe it is, but I'd like to see the statistics on it, the numbers that show that. But that's something that we should all look at and say, hey, we need to help. We need to do better than that. And that's where I don't say the government the church should step in, but we see those ministries that do that. I mean, big ministries. Feed the Children was one of them. Samaritan's Purse, they do things like that. And there are others, lots around. And we know those that say they do it, get food and stuff, then the food rots. They don't ever hand it out. They just take it and, whatever they want. So it's on both sides of the story, but this particular story, Jesus is trying to tell them, you're having these parties for your rich friends, and really you ought to be helping the poor people. Because today, it's getting more and more like that today here. Used to be you kind of had very rich people, a really big middle class, and then really poor people. Now, we've got quite a few rich people. I don't know what you consider rich, but I mean, it's in conjunction, here again, what do you call rich? It's still the top 3 or 4% of the people is all it is. It's not that many people. It's the Waltons and things like that built their money and all that. But the middle class is being shrunk down. You do have a great divide, and it's getting worse. There are more and more poor people because part of it, I know, is inflation ever since the pandemic. It's almost 2.5 times, I did see these statistics, almost 2.5 times more expensive now to eat out or to buy groceries or anything else than it was before. That's 6 years ago. Why? It's all changed, but now you don't have those people that's working, so you don't have the farmers and the people that in that time period, people lost their jobs. They lost their farms because they couldn't pay their taxes, because they couldn't farm. They lost the crop and they had to sell it. These big, I'm not against big corporations, but the big corporations bought them up, and now they are controlling things. Anyway, get off my soapbox, okay? But that's the way it is. We should be more tolerant for helping the poor. Now, there are poor people all the time that come up and they don't want to work. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, we need to help the people, but if you're back in the biblical days, if you're a able-bodied man and can work, you need to work, Anyway, get down off it. I think it's Tammy, is it the next one? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, one of those who sat at the table, with him heard these things, he said to him, blessed is he who shall eat bread.
Trying to change subject. They didn't like the way it was going. So he said, hey, blessed are those that eat bread in the kingdom of God. Well, he's got a story for them. Okay, another story. Then he said to him, and this is Jesus, a certain man gave a great supper, invited many, and sent his servant at supper time to say to those who were invited, come, for all things are now ready. But they all with one accord began to make excuses. The first said to him, I bought a piece of ground and I must go and see it. I ask you to have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen and I am going to test them. I ask you to have me excused. Still another said, I have married a wife and therefore I cannot come. Okay. So these are some of the excuses that they gave. Now, you got to understand a little bit about their party system. And it's kind of like today, but they may not give, they say, I'm going to have a party in 2 weeks. One Monday or Tuesday or whatever, a certain day. Oh yeah, I'll come, no problem. I'll see you there, okay. You get all these people to accept, and then the day before you say, okay, come out and be there at 5 o'clock. That's kind of what they did. They said, I'd send you the time later. Oh, that was today? I don't know. I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to have to think of who would go and buy a piece of land and not go look at it first. Maybe a very rich person or something, I don't know, but I want to go see if it's in the swamps in Florida or whatever it is if I'm buying land. Same thing with buying a bunch of oxen that's going to be worked. It's like buying a car or whatever. Yeah, I'll just buy it sight unseen. You can do that today. You know, there's some places that deliver it to your house, but they give you a 30-day warranty. If you don't like it, you can take it back. They'll take it back. Well, that wasn't back then. So this answer, these are just, they're thinking up something, and this is a great insult to the host in that time. So let's go on to the next one. I don't want to jump ahead, but that's, and well, we talked about the one who, okay, we talked about this in Deuteronomy. When a man marries, he's excluded a year from going to war because they figure it's time for him to get together with his wife and they get to know each other before he has to go off to war. Well, he's basically using that excuse here for this, for a party. I just married a wife and I can't come to your party. Well, bring her along, you know, why not? It's just one of those things. So anyway, okay, Brother Epperson, top of page 10.
So that servant came and reported these things to his master. Then the master of the house, angry, said to his servant, go and quickly into the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in here the poor, the maimed, the lame, and the blind. And the servant said, Master, it is done as you have commanded. Still there is room. Then the master said to the servant, go out into the highways and the hedges and compel them to come into my house, that my house may be filled. For I say to you that none of those men who are invited shall taste my supper.
Okay. Who's he talking to now?
Once he had done
The Pharisees. I mean, Jesus is telling this for the Pharisees. You see what he's trying to tell them? I've invited you many times to come and listen to me, and you said no, no, no. I'm telling you, not one of you are going to enter into the kingdom of God. It's basically have the marriage supper of the Lamb. But there's going to be others. Who's the others? Who's out in the hedges and the highways? But the Gentiles. He's going out. Yeah, that's everybody else. They considered everybody else outside of even their poor. Okay? He said, yeah, bring them in, but the house was still empty. Well, go get anybody you can out here. And that's what Christ is telling them. There are Gentiles that are going to be coming into my supper. Not one of you guys are going to be able to partake of it. Pretty harsh words when you know what he's trying to tell them. That if you don't straighten up and you don't listen to what I'm saying, you're going to be left out. So that's, in a quick few minutes, that's what he's telling us. Yes, there are some out there that they don't want to associate with. Pharisees don't. the maimed, the lame, the poor, but bring those in. They need to be helped. Yes, they'll come in, and anybody else you can find, come on in. He's inviting everyone to come on in. Now, we understand that, yeah, everybody's going to be invited, not everybody's going to come. Okay, that's today. We invite a lot of people to come and listen to Christ and listen to his word, hear him, hear about him. And there are a lot of people that don't want to hear it. Well, we can't help that. Our job is to do it, to go out and to compel them. Now, one of the things it says here, this word compel, that's what does that mean to you? When you compel somebody to do something, what are you? Convince them. Yeah, you're trying to convince them. What did the priests and the Catholic Church do in the Dark Ages? What they think the compelling is? Put you on a rack and start twisting your thumbs and the thumb screws. Are you going to be a Christian? That's not what this means. You compel them, urge them, but you don't torture people. That's why the Crusades and all that went on was totally wrong. The church got it, the Roman Catholic Church got it wrong, and a lot of people died for it. That's not what we're saying. Same thing again, back on the Muslims. If you don't convert them, they'll kill you. That's not right. That's not right. And I'm not saying that they're going to be there, but you have to be compelled to be in there. Some of the other organizations, I'll say organizations, they call themselves churches, they compel you too. They're secret. They don't want you to know anything. If you're not part of them, they don't want you to know anything, say anything outside of the church to anybody or anything. That's not right either. So, okay. At the bottom of 11. Now great multitudes went with him. So we're out of the house, finally. Okay, out of the house. And so he's going somewhere, we don't know where. But it says great multitudes went with him, and he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Pretty harsh. You have to understand a little bit, again, the translation of this, what at that time, okay, the physical time of Jesus and all that. And even today, you can see in the rhetoric that they're having about the war. It seems like the Middle Eastern countries, we're going to blow you off the face of the earth, you know. Well, they can't do that. I mean, some of them can maybe, but they use hyperbole. It's way over the top. Jesus here is saying that you've got to have it in your attitude that you love me, you will follow me no matter what. More than anything else. He doesn't actually mean hate, in my opinion. I think, and some of the commentaries said this, that he says, you have a family. He told that. My brothers and sisters are waiting to see you. Hey, these are my brothers and sisters. I'm teaching who I'm supposed to be teaching. My family can wait. That's basically what he told the disciples in one part. And here, that's what he's saying. I came to do a job. I'm doing this job. Okay? And I'm trying to win these people. He's not saying you have to even hate yourself. You have to put everything above. That's hard to do. I'm pretty selfish. some things I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's just the way it is. That's our human nature. So we have to sometimes beat our human nature up a little bit and say, I've got to do it. I've got to do this. I've got to do that, whatever it may be for you. Sometimes it may be going someplace or if you don't like people, get together with people because that's the way you fellowship and you need to commune and, things like this. Whatever it is. It said, Jesus boldly said that the true disciples comes to him without reservation, setting Jesus first. Because everybody was following him and he was just trying to set the level the playing field. Look, you guys, you're following me now, but just in a few days, you're not going to be following me. And a lot of people went away. We see that one in another one when he started saying some of this. He told one of the rich young rulers this, sell everything you got. Ooh, I can't do that. It's crazy. Well, that's what he's telling them here. You have to love me more than anything else. Now, can we do that today? We can sure try. There are be things that we can do and things we can't do. But our whole life should be upon him. Look upon him and what it is and how we can serve him better. Sometimes that's in serving our brother. Sometimes it's serving our wife, our family, our friends, our church, whatever it is. But it's ultimately to be serving him, okay, to help win people to Christ. It's interesting here, I thought, it says Napoleon understood this principle when he said, I know men, and I tell you that Jesus Christ is no mere man. Between him and every other person in the world, there is no possible term of comparison. Alexander the Great, Caesar, Charlemagne, and I, talking about Napoleon, have founded empires. But on what did we rest the creation of our genius? Upon force. Jesus Christ founded his empire upon love. And this hour, millions of men would die for him. That's pretty awesome, coming from Napoleon, in my opinion. Brother Epperson, 27 in the middle of page 13 there. Excuse me. 13. It's right in the middle there. Luke 14 and 27.
And so that whoever does not bear his cross, come after me, cannot be on his side.
It's on page 13. Now, who bears a cross? We do. We should. But back in their days, who bore the cross? People are going to die. Because they knew the Roman Empire, once you were, pronounced what's going to happen. If you were going to die, if you had to bear a cross, there was no doubt about it. You're dying. They're going to hang you on that cross. That's what he's telling his people there. And they understood that. If you can bear my cross, then you can be my disciple. If you can't, then you cannot. Again, telling them you're going to have to be willing to die. People today are dying for him. There are people in Pakistan, people in Nigeria, people all over the world, because of the gospel, are dying today. Said this probably horrified his listeners. As Jesus spoke these words, everybody knew what he meant. In the Roman world, before a man died on a cross, he had to carry his cross, or at least that horizontal beam. When the Romans crucified a criminal, they didn't just hang him on a cross. They first hang a cross on him. Just think about that. Everybody that's wearing a cross today, I'm not saying it's good or bad to wear it or not, but just saying, I'm ready to die. I have this cross on. I'm ready to die for him. If they understood that, if they understand what they're saying. This is another thing that the Roman General Varus, back in when they had the revolt of Judas in Galilee, which is 4 BC, about the time Jesus was born, that general crucified 2,000 Jews on crosses all along the way to Galilee. Can you imagine that? Okay, Iris, at the top of page 15.
For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it? Lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple.
So he gives 2 or 3 illustrations here on what he just said to emphasize it to them, to get it across, to make sure that they understood that, you know, if you start building a building, that happens today even. You go out and get your house estimate. By the time they get finished, usually you've overrun your money, and hopefully you can get enough to finish it. But if you just lay a foundation and lay the framework up and then you have to walk away, people are going to say, I wonder what happened to that house. We've got a house down there on 76th Street that some people started building probably 30 years ago. You know which one I'm talking about. And you just, finally somebody got it and has finally, I think, moved in it. Still working on it. But still, it's just like, you know, the first people, I guess, had to move off. I don't know the story or anything about it, but it makes you look really stupid that you didn't have enough money to finish it. So that's what he's saying. Or if you go out and fight and your army's 10,000 and you come out rooting and roaring and you look over there and they got twice as many people, it's like, hey, let's go talk to them about not fighting. Okay? Maybe I can pay them some money and then go home. That's kind of what they did back then. Okay, Tammy, on page 16.
Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall we season it? It is neither fit for the land nor for the dung. The men throw it out. He who has ears to hear, let him.
Now, today it's kind of hard for us to understand, how can salt lose its saltiness? Back then, their salt wasn't as pure as what we have today. What we have basically is sodium chloride, the elements, which is salt, and it has some iodide in it because they say that helps us. Back then, they may have had salt, and I don't know if you can remember all the way back to high school, but the periodic tables, there's several salt compounds. You know, it's not just that type of salt, but there's calcium chloride and bromide and all different types of ides, and those are salts also. The Dead Sea over there, it contains 10 times is more salty than any sea, okay? So what they do, they take that out, they take that water out, evaporate the water off, and that's their salt. Now, back then, that's what they did. Today, they separate it out because there's magnesium and potassium and all these other chemicals that they can get from it and get pure salt plus other stuff. So, if the salt back then loses that salt person, you know, the sodium chloride, what we would assume is salt, what we call table salt, yeah, it wouldn't do nothing. When I make my ice cream, I'm a little cheap. I put a little salt on it, put ice, put a little salt on it, put ice. If you want it done fast, you put a lot of salt on it. And put more, put more, and put more. And it'll get it frozen quick because that saltiness makes that temperature go down. So that's what it's here. And that salt is what makes it work. And that's what he's saying here. If you got salt and if it ain't salty and don't do its work, nobody wants it. You just throw it out. It's not good for anything. You can throw it on the grass, whatever. If you throw salt on the grass, it's gonna kill it because it's got salt in it. Well, if it ain't got no salt, yeah, you can throw it anywhere. It ain't gonna bother it. So that's what he's saying as part of this. People will know you if you're salty. Okay, if your personality is following me and you've picked up your cross and followed me, people are going to know it. You're going to show it. It's going to be on you, okay? And then the last verse, I think my battery went dead, yeah. Then all the tax collectors and the sinners drew near to him to hear him. Oh, that's 15 and 1. Okay, we'll skip that one. That'll be on next week's. We'll add that to next week, so we'll catch that then. I don't know why they included it with this week. Well, that was pretty good. It shut me off. Sure.